Welcome to the rematch of Wam+Puppy versus Beasty and MarineLord. Here we are again in the arena tournament hosted by Corvinus, or as many of you still know, Salami. We had this matchup before in the upper winners bracket. In fact, Wam+Puppypaw was the team that knocked down Beasty and MarineLord to the lower bracket. Now they are rematching over here in this best of three in the lower bracket finals, as we will have MarineLord and Beasty playing with the Abbasids and the English. And on the other side, Wam+Puppy will be rocking with the HRE and the Mongols. Now, again, we'll be focusing on the fights rather than the actual rule discussion, but in case you're unfamiliar with the rules, I've explained them in a couple of the sets I've cast before. So we'll just focus on the gameplay over here, and it looks like we have a Keshik opening from Puppy, and it's going to be Men-at-Arms from Wam. They are facing off against Spears and Longbows, and there's a Khan as well. Now, the Khan is going to give you the Kurotai buff beyond Castle Age, so it's going to have an increased importance as we go into Castle Age. For now, it's only Feudal. And the question is, what can these Men-at-Arms do now? Spearmen have done a beautiful job focusing on the Keshik, and now the Longbows, all they need to do is just deal with the Men-at-Arms. You might be wondering why we have Villager over here. It's pretty simple. You want to use every single resource that you have, and if you can't afford anything else, might as well buy a Villager for some extra cannon fodder, meat shield, whichever way you want to call it. Now, Wam+Puppy, they are both racing to Castle Age, whereas on the other side, Beasty is going to stick with Feudal for the time being. MarineLord went up to Castle himself. Remains to be seen if we have any just full tech rounds from either of these sides. But as you see at the top of the screen, first to 5 is going to win this round, and we'll have a best of 3, so potentially 2 more games like this coming up. We'll have to see. The last set that they've played, it went all the way to 3 games. It was a very close one. Remains to be seen if MarineLord and Beasty can avenge themselves. By the way, in the winners bracket finals, we have Louis MT and CSO waiting their opponents. They were the team that knocked down Wam+Puppypaw as we begin the second round. It's going to be crossbows and Ghulams over here. And it's just going to be full infantry from Wam+Puppypaw. They fall onto the Ghulams over here. They do have maces, so they do fairly well against the Ghulams, but the crossbows, they could do a lot of damage to those blue Men-at-Arms. Seems like the flood of infantry is just too big to deal with, though. This has been the composition that the Canadian brothers have been going for. And you see the Kurotai buff is also massive. It is going to increase your damage output, but it's also healing your units, so it's much more difficult for Beasty and MarineLord to get any kills over here. Round will be secured by Wam+Puppypaw. It's the first on the board for them. And you see the composition that they love to play around. In fact, there was a bit of a pause before this set, so I actually listened to Beasty's stream discussing things with MarineLord, and they've kind of settled with banning French, because one of the things that Wam+Puppypaw did very frequently was play into Men-at-Arms Arbalétrier, but recently they've shifted into this just full infantry flood, Men-at-Arms Spearmen or Men-at-Arms Landsknechte. We'll have to see if they continue playing around that. It's going to be crossbows, longbows from Beasty and MarineLord, but Beasty will have the palings available for his longbows. So this is also, in a way, an anti-cavalry comp, and this is a comp that's difficult to beat. In fact, Beasty and MarineLord found a lot of success with this composition in prior rounds. Round number 3. Men-at-Arms will try to engage first. Horsemen out there as well to help out. No palings deployed by Beasty means that the horsemen can close distance, but it's only a handful of them out here. Crossbows need to focus on the Men-at-Arms, though. And I feel like those palings missing is a big thing right now for Team Beasty. Many of those longbows have been hit by the horsemen, but now horsemen are gone, and now the crossbows just have to focus the Men-at-Arms. Longbows doing a good job dispatching all the spears. Beautiful job from the Canadian brothers, by the way, sending the Men-at-Arms to deal with the longbows and sending the spearmen to deal with the crossbows. But it still will be insufficient, it seems. Spearmen are now gone. Everybody can focus the Men-at-Arms. But a lot of those crossbows have been decimated, so this could still maybe work out for Wam+Puppy, although it seems like they just have insufficient Men-at-Arms remaining now. It's going to be a cleanup from Team Beasty, and they will be heading into round number 4 with a 2-1 lead. It's full castle on both sides. Let's see if we have, once again, a very heavy infantry focus from Puppy and Wam. No units committed to just yet, and it's going to be Horsemen plus Men-at-Arms. Something similar to what they've tried in the previous round. This time around, the composition is going to be identical for Beasty, but he's also getting closer and closer to Men-at-Arms. So he's getting those techs in. He has missing armor clad. He's not going to commit to Men-at-Arms anytime soon, but he keeps that option open for future rounds. But for now, it's going to be identical compositions. And I get the feeling that this composition for Beasty and MarineLord will dominate just like it did in the previous round. In fact, if you deploy Palings, it's going to be even more devastating. Let's see if Beasty does that. Looks like he doesn't want to. Crossbows are actually focusing the Horsemen as well, so they just want to get rid of them as soon as possible. I don't know if that's the right course of action over here with your crossbows. We'll have to see at the end of the round. But looks like this is going to be an even more significant cleanup from Beasty and MarineLord than the previous round was. Horsemen are gone. Crossbows will dispatch the Men-at-Arms quick and easy. And with that, we have the 3rd point on the board here for Beasty and MarineLord. Imperial Age in for Wam+Puppy. They've stepped back from this round. Or, well, it seemed for a moment, but it looks like it's going to be imp for both sides. Commitment towards that coming in from both teams. Heavy on the upgrades is going to be Wam. He's going for elite army tactics. He's getting some Men-at-Arms queued up. And it looks like they will step back from this round, just go full for the techs. Now, this is a big gamble from Wam+Puppy. If they forfeit this round, it basically means that MarineLord and Beasty will move on to map point. But it looks like MarineLord and Beasty are also stepping back from this one. They're just grabbing the techs. In this case, having 4 Horsemen out there is great. This is something that I was advocating for in these rounds. When you go for techs, I feel like you still want to mix in just a couple of units. Because if you both go for techs, you will get a free point on the board like this. Both teams went for techs, but MarineLord and Beasty miss out on this one. Wam+Puppy move on to striking distance. Now they're just down by 1 point. Beasty unlocking that late game prowess of the English though. Here comes Wally, here comes the last ranged attack upgrade. And there's going to be camo support as well by MarineLord. That camo is going to be buffing the longbows as well. So this comp is going to be even more so devastating. But would you look at this, Wam+Puppy, they fell for this composition in the previous round against Louis MT and CSO. It's going to be Horsemen and Landsknechte. This is devastating as long as you do not face many longbows. But I feel like the longbows should be able to deal with this. It's going to be tricky though. You have to disperse the damage output from those longbows. You cannot focus fire the Landsknechte. If they can ever close distance, this is going to be a massacre. Palings will be deployed, will prevent the Horsemen from doing a lot of damage, staggering quite a few of them. But the longbows will have to move back, which means that the Palings are disappearing. And you see the Horsemen are doing a great job tanking up all the damage. Landsknechte will close the distance. And now MarineLord and Beasty have their backs against the wall. Landsknechte will dish out a lot of punishment. And it looks like this composition will dominate now for Wam+Puppy. This composition of having a tank unit, the Horsemen, and the damage output unit like the Landsknechte works so well in these rounds when you can just push those range units to the edge of that little area. For Beasty and MarineLord, they didn't have any like front line that shields those longbows or the crossbows from this push, and they just had to constantly retreat, and those low HP units got massacred. Now here's the response. Beasty's gonna play into the Reboldequin, and that's going to be nasty. We've seen Beasty and MarineLord win the previous round in the lower bracket off the back of Reboldequin, and since there is no anti-siege at all here for Wam+Puppy, this could work very well. The Reboldequin, as long as they're defended by any kind of frontline unit, they will deal with the Spearmen, they will deal with the Horsemen, and even the Landsknechte. It's all gonna come down to MarineLord shielding these Reboldequin with the Ghulams. I feel like he's lacking numbers though. A handful of longbows have been mixed in so that they unlock Palings, but look at that. This is what I was talking about with the Reboldequin. They are just doing so much damage. Question is that front line strong enough to hold off the Landsknechte from hitting all these Reboldequin? Looks like Reboldequin are still alive though, but slowly but surely, those green spearmen overwhelm them. Landsknechte also closing the distance, and the siege weapons will be taken down. Just not enough meat shield over here for Team Beasty. They got close, but not close enough. And with that, Wam+Puppy are the first team that moves on to match point, or map point, I should say. There is still a redemption arc here for Beasty and MarineLord. If they lose this, this is a best of 3, so we will have at least one more of these games coming up. Composition will be identical for Wam and Puppy. I feel like this is one of those cases where Reboldaquin could work, but you need a stronger front line. They will try to do the exact same thing here. This time around, MarineLord will have a lot more Gulam to work with. You could make a case for a couple of spears actually here for Beasty and MarineLord, just to put out that threat of staggering the cavalry, buying a couple of extra seconds. That could be interesting to look at. They will die to the Landsknechte quickly, but they might be able to get rid of some of the horsemen before they do. Camel support is out here. That's going to be a big factor as well. Reboldaquin out there to dish out punishment. You see they're focusing down the horseman. Reboldaquin being pulled back over here. Nice wraparound with the horseman, though. Landsknechte doing a lot of work on the front lines, though. Reboldaquin spreading out their fire, but once again, we just see this whole army from Wam and Puppypaw surround Beasty and MarineLord. This time around, the front line holds a little longer, though. Reboldaquin still firing away, but it's the same story over and over again. The front line, it just isn't kept alive long enough to protect these Reboldaquins, or is it? I might have spoken too soon. This time around, a lot of these Reboldaquins survive at a low HP and continue to dish out punishment. The damage output wasn't really focused by Wam and Puppy. You see, a lot of these units survive at a very low HP. If they manage to get some more horsemen on each of these individual Reboldaquins and just kill those low HP ones, the damage output would have been so different. I think this is the big difference between this round and the one prior. In the previous round, 2 or 3 Reboldaquins got taken down very quickly, so the damage output was much lower from Beasty and MarineLord. This time around, those Reboldaquins stayed alive, and even the low HP ones helped out, cleaning up all that infantry. Moves us to an even-Steven score line, and it is just one round that decides who gets the first match over here. It's going to be Landsknechte with some spearmen and horsemen. This time around, it's going to be supported by Springolds. MarineLord and Beasty will not go for the siege, though. They will go heavily on the infantry, and I think this will dominate. That many Gulams, supported by some camels and some longbows. I don't think this composition is sufficient for Wam and Puppy. Numbers favoring Beasty's team as well. They do have the volley available for those English longbows. They do have the palings, and you see those Landsknechte are getting massacred before they engage. Beautiful fight here for for Beasty and MarineLord, beg your pardon. Landsknechte disappear, and this is a dominant victory here for MarineLord and Beasty. For the final round, they pivoted away from the Reboldaquin, but they climb back into this series, and they will be the first team to be on the board. First match will be in their hands, and we will move on to map number 2, with a lead in the hands of Beasty and MarineLord. Once again, a very close set and a spectacular one nonetheless. I feel like it really came down to this second to last round where Beasty and MarineLord were able to protect the Reboldaquins. 2 rounds they went for Reboldaquins. It worked out once, and that was the equalizer that they needed that moved it to round number 9. And once they were there, they just dominated with the English longbows. Beasty and MarineLord will be the first team on the board, and we will see how Game 2 shapes out in a matter of moments. Here we are in game number 2. We will have Beasty and MarineLord playing with the English and the Mongols. And on the other side, we will have Puppy and Wam with the French and the Abbasids. French, a civilization that they so commonly use. Whereas on the other side, Abbasids is not something that we've seen very frequently from them, if I can recall correctly. It's going to be a strong commitment towards round number 1. Heavy on the knights, heavy on the archers. Other side, it's going to be double spears over here. MarineLord and Beasty don't seem to anticipate the archers being added. Maybe they think it's going to be knights plus Wam aging up. But boy oh boy are they wrong. And this composition here from Wam and Puppy should dominate. You still need to be cautious with the knights, but archers, you can micro them away, pick off the spearmen, and that's exactly what Puppy and Wam are doing. They will actually stand and fight with the knights. But indeed, this is going to be a cleanup, and that should put the first point on the board here for Wam and Puppypaw. They are down 1 score overall. This is going to be the last match of the set, if Beasty and MarineLord end up winning this, but Puppy and Wam are the first to put points on the board. MarineLord and Beasty didn't commit heavily to this round though, they are rushing Castle Age, and Wam is going to Castle Age himself. So does Puppy, so everybody is going to be playing in Castle. It's going to be actually a couple of men-at-arms being added by Puppy. French men-at-arms is not something that you commonly see, but under these settings, this could actually work out. You see, French will get the melee attack bonuses for free, so that's actually something that you get as a civilization bonus in this game mode. Will give you a pretty decent buff over here in this second round. And it looks like Beasty is just going to go full technologies. Look at that. Scouts, all the techs grabbed, and he's going to be playing with longbows supported by MarineLord. Well, yeah, those longbows have been supplied by MarineLord. Now, longbows shouldn't do much against these men-at-arms, but they are actually very slow men-at-arms. So there is a world in which MarineLord and Beasty out-micro this. In fact, I think that's exactly what's going to happen. This could take a while, by the way, because this Khan, this might just micro forever. Even if longbows get cleaned up, the Khan will just micro forever. But you do have the Kurultai buff. That's what you get as a bonus for the Mongols. Khan providing the Kurultai buff to teammates and allies alike. So you do have a crazy attack rate on these longbows already. And that allows you to clean up those men-at-arms. Secures round number 2 for Beasty and MarineLord. It's going to be a heavy commitment to archers, though, here from Wam. He's also going for the HP upgrade on them, that is Bootcamp. And on the other side, it's going to be crossbows coming in for Beasty. Will be a great tool to deal with those men-at-arms. There's a mangonel on the other side, and it's going to be longbows from MarineLord. Notably, this is the first game that Beasty and MarineLord play in which Beasty isn't the player in command of the English. So far, it has always been Beasty playing with the English. This is the first time that MarineLord has them. It's going to be interesting to see how they deal with that mangonel. If they juke the shots, they can actually win this battle, but it's going to be tricky. I feel like Wam and Puppy has an upper hand in this. Numbers are dead even. Archer numbers are looking slightly healthier for Wam, though, compared to MarineLord. There's a mangonel as well. And if those archers can pick off at least a couple of those crossbows, the man-at-arms will suddenly become a factor. First mangonel shot being juked over here. Crossbows will engage the archers, though. The Kurultai buff out there, but the Khan gets picked off quickly. Means that the Kurultai buff is going to be no longer in effect. It's going to decay in a matter of seconds. Men-at-arms now charging in as well. Many of the archers have been picked off, though. But you see, Men-at-Arms have closed the distance. Mangonel still firing shots away, but is missing constantly. Beautiful micro here by Beasty and MarineLord to avoid those Mangonel shots. And now with the archers having been picked off, beautiful Mangonel shot in the meantime. If the archers are gone from Wam, Beasty can deal with these Men-at-Arms using the crossbows. Only a handful of crossbows remain, most of them at very low HP, but just enough to deal with these Men-at-Arms. Look at that. They'll be camping in the face of that Mangonel, and it will be just enough, I feel, to deal with this army. A very close round, and you feel like this is one of those rounds where you really have to say, look, this could have gone either way, and the fact that Beasty's team is going to secure this could easily be the deciding factor between these two teams. Now, this poor Mangonel is just going to have to run for his life. He will never be allowed to deploy. I feel like if you're Puppy, you just delete this and say, okay, let's move on to the next round because I cannot win this. He's trying. You cannot fault him for that, but MarineLord and Beasty, they have exactly one thing to do, and that is never leave this Mangonel. They will take it down, and MarineLord and Beasty move on to 2 points apiece. It's going to be heavy archers again from Wam. Let's see what Puppypaw does. He's going to play into Horsemen. Now, are we going to have a read on this from Beasty and MarineLord? Ooh, Beasty's playing Kashyyyk. Beasty has gotten a lot of upgrades in one of the previous rounds. He's gotten Whistling Arrows for the Khan. Now he's playing into Kashyyyk. And I feel like Kashyyyk is such a great choice here, especially because you don't have any Spearmen for Wam and Puppy. Kashyyyk will heal themselves. And they also get the Kurultai buff in which they do get healed. So one of the advantages that Beast and MarineLord will have here is that their army will be very difficult to kill. That constant healing aura from the Khan, and of course the healing effect of the Kashyyks on themselves, will make it very difficult for Wam and Puppy to really destroy this army. Skirmishes in the middle. Looks like Keshik will engage. There is the Khan as well. Arrow yet to be popped over here, but now he's going to drop the arrow. It is going to be the attack speed. And look at that. Attack speed arrow plus the coral type buff just makes these longbows fire insanely fast. Keshik's still alive. They are providing a meat shield. Horsemen are gone. Khan has been taken down, but it is no longer relevant. Keshik are still around. They will soak up the arrow fire, and Beastie's longbows will deal with the rest of these archers. Beastie and MarineLord will move on to 3 points, and, you know, that alarm bell has to start sounding here for Wam and Puppy. They are 2 rounds away from being eliminated here on the lower bracket. Beastie and MarineLord very close to climbing back into the grand finals. It's going to be Arbaletria this time around for Puppypaw. It's going to be supported with mass archers. Beastie and MarineLord yet to commit to a unit, but I feel like if they just go for the same comp, like, maybe not the same comp, Keshik would get taken down by the Arbaletria, but if they go full archers, they could win this easily. Now, MarineLord is going to play heavily into archers, and Beastie will play Keshik once again. This is not going to work as good as it did in the previous round, though. That many Arbaletria will pick off the Keshik, and then once they deploy the Pavise, it's going to be difficult for the longbows to deal with them. Still, the Khan buff is going to be a huge factor here, so there is a chance here for Beastie's team. They're trying to focus down the Camel that is providing the debuff. Pavise deployed on the front line. Keshik will be committed against this one. This time around, though, the Keshik will be massacred by all of those Arbaletria. However, Khan arrow has been popped. The veteran longbow is still a big factor in this engagement, but probably not big enough here. Archer numbers dead even though, and I feel like there is a window here still for Beastie and MarineLord. There are still a couple of Keshiks out there. Khan has been taken down, but the numbers are now looking better and better for Beastie and MarineLord. That Khan has done just enough to secure this round, and I feel like that last Keshik soaking up the damage is just such a huge factor over here. Longbows will spread out the damage output. They will clean this up, and Beastie and MarineLord will move on to match point. Imperial Age in for everybody over here. Means that the tech is going to be pretty much even here. Wam committing heavily to the archers. Puppypaw, what can he do with the French here? He's going men-at-arms. I feel like men-at-arms aren't a bad unit, and you do get the free melee attack, but it's not necessarily the unit that you want to see from a French player. MarineLord is going to have the volley as well. English getting a massive buff here as they get into Imperial Age. Not just the Elite upgrade, not just the Flaming Arrows upgrade, but also the volley that's available. And Beastie still needs to commit to something. He's going to play crossbows this time, anticipating heavy units coming out here. I like this comp a lot more for Beastie and MarineLord. The Khan buffing those longbows, they should dominate the archers. And then those men-at-arms, they should be a non-factor over here with all those crossbows around. Initial skirmishes begin. You want to commit your crossbows, I feel. You want to commit them, try to pick off as many men-at-arms, and then just pick off those archers from a distance with the longbows, men-at-arms getting shredded by all these crossbows. Khan still alive, being kept all the way at the back here by Beastie, making sure that the archers can never get close. And then those longbows will just pick off the archers. That is it for Wam and Puppypaw. Beastie and MarineLord will move on to the grand finals here, and Wam and Puppypaw will be out here in the lower bracket. They will be the 3rd place team in this event, once again hosted by Corvinus, formerly known as Salami. Beastie and MarineLord, they will face off against a team that knocked out Wam and Puppypaw from the winner's bracket. That is going to be Louis MT and CSO. Once again, a best of 3 will be coming up over there. If you do not want to miss that set, I recommend you subscribing to the channel. I also greatly appreciate if you throw a like to this video. Make sure you stick with me, because there will be a lot more coming up, both from this event and, of course, everything else that's Age of Empires. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.